In France, working the land is often a family business, and for several generations on this farm, it was like that. Mr. Rooks and his two daughters, Chloe and Clara, were the last tenants of the family home. Isolated in the middle of a valley and surrounded by hectares of vineyards, Mr. and Mrs. Rooks dedicated their lives to the vineyards. They loved this lifestyle and wanted their daughters to love it just as much. As if it were a family tradition, the land was passed down from parents to children, with the latter following in their parents' footsteps. But all things end, and for this family, it came quickly. Their daughters married and lived in the house with their husbands for a while. They helped their parents in the vineyards, just as they had been doing. The day came when their daughters left, eager to build the lives they wanted, far from the countryside. Shortly before abandonment reached this house, Mrs. Rooks passed away, leaving her husband alone. Because of the hard life he had led, he had health problems that made it difficult for him to move around. He set up the first floor with everything he needed, so he wouldn't have to go upstairs. He couldn't manage alone for long, and in 2004 he voluntarily moved into a nursing home so he wouldn't be a burden to his daughters. Would you follow your parents' path despite its difficulties, or leave that life behind? This would be the main door of the house. First, I want to show you the kitchen. A rustic house with many details despite years of abandonment. And on the ceiling, if you look, it's completely black. It smells like something burned. Even though it doesn't look like it actually burned. Now it's a pendulum cuckoo clock. Sorry. All this poop is from bats, because when we came in there were a lot of bats around here. I'll check the 2004 calendar. I thought it had been abandoned for longer, because the condition it's in. What? Everything is very deteriorated. To show the whole kitchen. That in this chimney, here obviously they also cooked, besides cooking on the stoves. Here they had the stoves with gas, and the gas cylinder is still connected. It doesn't open, but well, from here we can see what's left. There are quite a few things left. Ah, look, here I had more stoves, even a fridge. Wow. The expiration date is from 2009. Look at all the little pots neatly arranged. See what I missed. Recording is the sink. Precious stone sink. And here I would have the heater. Now I'm going to show you one of the rooms that was down here. Right next to the kitchen. Look, as soon as you walk in, you already run into some crutches. What a detail, huh? And the chamber pot here. Oh my, I guess this wasn't bat chicken. It wasn't a room before, only in recent years. Since he couldn't go up the stairs, he probably ended up moving one of the rooms here, so he could live here. Downstairs, so he wouldn't have to go up the stairs, and besides, the upstairs is in the worst condition. It's like they haven't been upstairs for far longer than they've been down here. The closet's nearly empty. He took all the clothes. So he probably ended up in a nursing home and took all his personal belongings, or most of them. And look, he made them himself, you know? Or they made them for him, but in a rustic way. They're made out of wood. We're done with the kitchen now. And we'll leave the upstairs for last, and there they had some storage rooms that we'll see in a moment, but first let's go to this part here. The house had a beautiful living room.
Everything it has?
With the berets here. There they had another beret. Look, they picked up everything. So, did they expect to leave here with all the bellows to stoke the fire? I mean, when you find it like this, you know they got ready to leave, but in the end they left a lot of things behind, or thought they'd come back later and never did. Oh, what photos? Wedding photo. Look, this is an old level, and it still works. I've never seen something like this made of such old iron. This here, which looks like what dentists use with a mirror, although I don't think it's for that. I've never seen anything like this. The violence that exists in this place. The books upstairs are rotting from humidity. Look at this photo, probably taking communion. Chillis, it's odd you had them and they had them here. As I mentioned, I believe he spent his final years downstairs. When we go upstairs, you'll see it looks abandoned for much longer. At this table, they probably gathered here to eat and so on when visitors came over. When the whole family got together. Look at these photographs. And this undamaged piece of furniture. Even though it has woodworm. But it's holding up really well. The dishes over here and the glasses. Oh, I hadn't seen it. Look, what a brooch. This right here. What looks like silver. to grab the tongs, to pick up some food or something like that, or to serve. How cool. There are still a lot more dishes left here. And they also had a singer. In this room, in the living room, you know. I love all the details they had. And look at the brand, what's here? From turning on the light, the whole mark has stayed around the wall. Like I said, probably in the last years I lived here, I was at a pretty advanced age and with little mobility from what we've seen. So he could barely take care of the house. Look at this here, how far did they go? They even put a bed. Right under the stairs, I used this space to put another bed.
He likely first lived here with his children.
Eventually, he ran out of space and had to add another bed here. But as for personal belongings and such, honestly, there are very few. But anyway, can you get an idea of how they lived here? Because all of this is surrounded by orchards. And look at these cool bikes. With the headlight and everything. Quite well preserved. And with their coats. Here. Here he had his own little wine cellar. We saw that all the nearby fields were vineyards, so he likely made his own wine. Well, and he would sell it, he would work the land, but he would keep some for himself from different years, most likely. It's a shame that part of the house has collapsed, that's why we can't manage to access that part over there. Which is probably a barn, because I see straw up there. Alright, let's go now. Towards the upper part. We'll go. I'll show you what's up there. There's a motorcycle helmet. He must have a motorcycle around here. He had the washing machine here. I doubt this was its original place, since there's no outlet to plug it in. They likely kept the house tidy. Probably when he passed away or when they took him to the nursing home, they tidied up, they cleaned up the house to keep it a bit neater, or to start taking things away or whatever. But in the end, it stayed just as it was. And this is what remains of it today. We are at the top. And the first room I'm going to show you is super empty. As you can see, this section is in worse condition. And that's where part of the floor has fallen down. Look at how everything is. This room, obviously they cleared it out completely. There's not much to see here, so let's go to the other room. There are still a lot of things left. Look, even though it's incredibly run down, it remains very detailed. But you have to be very careful, because the floor is in terrible shape. Look, at a wedding. There are the bride and groom, 2 weddings. They must be sisters, probably. Here is one of them, the one with the mustache. And here's the other one. And the sisters together. Look at everything that's left around here. Crosses, some medallion. Even a Christ. I'm going to show you the house. I'm showing the outside since it's almost impossible to find. Just with this. And this here is where I kept the straw and so on. There's not much there. All those around here and what I had here, along this path here that goes toward the vineyards. Here's the same photo, just smaller. And up there, there's a hive of, if I'm not mistaken, Asian bees, because they're huge. I mean, they're really big. They're the so-called killer bees. Come on, I think that's what they are. They're old photographs at another wedding. Oh, not at the same one. Because they're the same people. Let's see, because here there are... I'm not taking it out, since I might not get it back in without breaking the bag. It's a rosary. Here it has some ace. Hostels and things like that from... of the Virgin of Jesus Christ. And another rosary. There, in the back. Bedside glass and not much else. If the floor creaks, let's see which rosario is there. Well, with this I've already shown you everything. And so I hope you liked the video. And if that's the case, give it a like and I'll see you at the next place. See you next time.